Welcome to Global Forum. Today's discussion is about building peace in South Asia. And we invited two very distinguished guests. We have with us Professor Sanjoy Banerjee. He's the Department Chair of International Relations Studies Department at the San Francisco State University. He's also an international relations theorist and a journalist or a columnist within India Currents magazine. Welcome, Professor Banerjee.
Thank you.
And we have Tariq, who is an internationally known author of 22 books. And I think you know him better than I need to define him. So he's here, Tariq, author of many books, an international orator, and truly a global voice for peace and justice. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Now, Tariq Sahab, you have been working on this issue for a long time. This is something that both your parents have worked for and you have worked for. This is a family legacy of building peace and justice. What are the prospects of building peace in our own lifetime?
Depends how long we've got now, but I think, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I think we have to carry on fighting for it. Look, it's no longer a question of dismantling any state. You know, that's foolish, counterproductive. But what we have to work towards in South Asia, I think, is a South Asia Union on the model of the European Union, but better than that. The European Union is a union of wealth and bankers. We can have a South Asian Union which actually begins to help the ordinary people in that part of the world and reduces any chance at all of war between these states. Pakistan and India are nuclear states. Any war between them, and neither side has said that they won't use nuclear weapons, would be a disaster for the region. So we have now in South Asia, I would say, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal. Some countries small, some larger. It is in their combined interests and individual interests to work together and within this framework find a solution for the two problems that have damaged relations in the country, in this region, Kashmir and the Tamil question in Sri Lanka. If you have a new entity created which doesn't challenge the sovereignty of any existing state, but begins to work together, I think within that framework some form of autonomy for Kashmir and the Tamil areas within the South Asia Union could become a possibility. So you end long years of violence, of suffering, of repression, of crazinesses, jihadis in Kashmir or the Tamil tigers in the Tamil areas in northern Ceylon. We have to move forward towards that. The tragedy is that we no longer have politicians of vision in either country, really. Dynasties in both countries, you know, the Bhuttos in Pakistan, the Gandhis, Nehru Gandhis in India, the Bandaranaike's in Sri Lanka, the Mujibur Rahman family or the Zia Rahman family in Bangladesh, Nepal alone. Curiously enough, this country which was in some ways socially the most backward is now a shining example of a republican, democratic state which has been created. So we have to learn from each other. I think that has got to be the direction in which we move. I think a big problem has been that Pakistan has always been, the elite that rules Pakistan has always been attuned to North American time zones and sometimes Gulf time zones, but has ignored South Asia's own time zones. And they need to return to that time zone because that is where their future lies. And within India as well, there is a more enlightened section of the ruling establishment which should know that this is the way forward, both for the sake of the region and for the sake of India's large Muslim minorities in Kashmir and in the rest of the country.
Well, let's ask the enlightened part of Indian intelligentsia.
You may change your mind later. I think while politicians are crafty characters and grubby characters, I actually have a somewhat higher opinion of recent statements from President Zardari, from Prime Minister Gilani and others, and Nawaz Sharif also. I think in the Pakistani civilian political movement, there is a significant change in priorities and historical awareness from what was there amongst the same persons maybe 20 years ago. President Zardari spoke a few days ago about having a security cooperation, mutual security in South Asia. I think that's a good idea. I mean, we're not there yet. We have to get to there from here, but he's taken some major steps. And the real change that the dictator Musharraf made earlier, but which has been continued with the support of both Nawaz Sharif and Zardari, is to say that we're not going to resolve the Kashmir issue immediately, but that cannot. The whole of the subcontinent, the billion Indians, the fifth of a billion almost Pakistanis cannot be held hostage to that one issue, which is complicated, which involves many different small groups and their interactions. So I think he certainly would like to go that way. Now the new Chief of Army Staff also said that there's a national consensus in Pakistan about Kashmir. It wasn't clear to me which consensus he was talking about. It's not the kind of statement one likes to hear from a military leader to support the value of civilian supremacy. But for the time being, I think the military has not had a good experience with the last phases of its rule. So we are some time away from the next coup, and hopefully that won't happen at all.
All right, but did you say that you think that's a good idea to build United States of South Asia, or you said it's not a good idea?
It may be a good idea in a few decades. Right now, it's not a good idea. A lot of political work has taken place in the Republic of India. A lot of political work has taken place in Bangladesh. I don't think Bangladesh is particularly interested in becoming, subordinated to a larger political formation, especially when they can, if they want to simply build bilateral relations with India, with Pakistan, Nepal, and all the other countries. Politicians.
Can I stop you? Because you said a very key word, subordinated. If it's going to be subordinated, obviously, I think the answer will be what you just said. But if it's going to be coordinated through a higher structure, a coordinating mechanism to each other's benefit, mutual benefit, then it's a totally different story. It seems to me what Tariq Sahib was saying goes back to actually Maulana Abul Kalam Azad's 1946 plan for mission, cabinet mission plan, which he gave to them, which will be autonomy, self-rule on most issues, and coordination to mutual benefit with little interference from the side. And it seems to me the SARC, whole idea of SARC and the economic cooperation they are talking about is actually moving in the direction of reviving that kind of a cooperation. We don't need to go back, but the idea is there. Idea has been there since 1946 of a regional cooperation for economic purposes. And given impetus by the fact that the whole world now is experiencing not only globalization, but a secondary tier of regional cooperation, which gives you a boost in the global competition. So do you think that South Asian countries can wait that long?
I think there's a difference between economic integration, which can proceed and which is now starting to proceed, and a formal political union. Europe, to get to where it is, went through certain historical experiences as sovereign states, which taught them certain lessons. But those lessons cannot only be learned in the foreign ministries. They have to be learned down to the ordinary people. And in South Asia, we don't have enough experience as sovereign states. Right now, we're in the period of the sovereign states, which were created in 1947 and a few years after, have some track record behind them. They're building up certain very positive human processes are taking place. New participation, new political parties coming up to represent people and led by people who have never exercised that kind of leadership in the last few centuries. Actually, I mean, the history of South Asia is quite ancient, and there's more to it than most people realize.